Katrecia Jones, majoring in elementary education, and this is just a video of a PowerPoint presentation that I made up of classroom management in the classroom. In my opinion, it can make or break the classroom. So getting started with our first PowerPoint, classroom culture. I will have high expectations of you, but you should also have high expectations of me as your teacher. So how can I expect you to think highly of me if I'm not thinking highly of you? What are some reasonable expectations we can hold to each other as a student and a teacher? Being on time. Being on time is extremely important. How can I expect you to be on time? You don't want to be on time if I'm always late as your teacher. If I'm always late, always running late, how can I expect you to be on time and want to be on time? Being respectful. This one's a big one. Respect goes both ways. You respect me, I respect you. Especially in older grades like middle school and high school, respect is a huge thing because they will not respect you if you don't respect them, or if they feel like they're being disrespected. They will not respect you at the end of the day. Trying your hardest. As long as you're trying, you're gonna get an A from me. Trying is better than doing nothing. Trying is extremely important in my book. If I see that you're trying, you're gonna get credit for it. But if you're just sitting there, you're not trying, you're not putting forth the effort, I'm not gonna give it to you. Because to me, that means you don't care. If I'm not trying my hardest to teach you to the best abilities that I can, that's gonna make you think I'm not trying my hardest, and that's gonna make you not wanna do it. So that's extremely important also. Have grace for each other. We're all human at the end of the day. Even as a teacher, I am still a human. I still have emotions. So if we have grace for each other, it'll go way smoother because we all need to have grace for each other. We need grace. I need grace and you need grace. So at the end of the day, we're all just trying to be our best. And if I see that from you, you're gonna get that from me because I'm not gonna just feel like I'm doing nothing inside of the classroom for you and you're just not listening. Come prepared to learn. This is a huge one for me, being a teacher, being a substitute teacher. When you come with no supplies, that brings us back to being respectful. Have your supplies. Don't come in just expecting me to have supplies for you. Pencils, paper. There's free clinics, there's free everything that you can get supplies in the beginning of the school year. So I don't understand why we can't come to class prepared to learn. If I'm not prepared to learn, if I don't have the lesson plan for you ready and set up and I'm not ready to teach you, that's me not coming prepared to teach you. So for you, it's coming prepared to learn. If I've spent my time setting up this lesson for you, this fun lesson that I'm expecting you guys to love, and you don't come prepared to learn, you don't come with the mindset. We all have our days, I get it. Goes back to having grace for each other, we get it. I am not 100% every day, but am I gonna come in as your teacher and give you 100%? Yes, because that's what you deserve and that's what I deserve as your teacher. I need and deserve 100% from you. One of my favorite quotes, see the good in yourself and in others. How should we behave? This is a big thing also in my middle school classroom. So for them, I would say create a mind map in your exercise books, identifying the ways you think we should behave in the classroom. Having, especially the older grades, middle school and high school, make up the rules with you or make up the expectations with you, it tends to be easier because it's things that they've made up. So it's things that in their mind, okay, I can follow this because I made it up. We made it up together. So that makes them feel like they have fair game. Like we made this, so that's fair enough for us to go along with it and follow those directions. And when that's being done, and when everybody has a full understanding of how we're supposed to be acting, how you're expected to act inside of my classroom, it makes it go way smoother. This can also make or break the classroom. If you don't have clear instructions and rules on how to behave in the classroom, you're probably gonna have a classroom full of monkeys, and nobody learns that way. Preparation is key. Every lesson, make sure you bring the following. This pulls back to that first PowerPoint of be prepared or come prepared. Pencil case, device, whether it be your Chromebook, your laptop, exercise book, so your math workbook in this case is pre-algebra, and a willing attitude. Out of those four, my most important one is a willing attitude. If you're not willing to try, if you don't care, that makes me feel as if I'm not doing my job as your teacher to make sure you enjoy what you're learning. Homework policy. This has worked out fairly well with me and my middle schoolers. Number one, if incomplete on due date, you will have until the next lesson to present your completed homework. Number two, if still incomplete by the next lesson, you will receive a strike against your name. Your parents will be emailed or called. I only do phone calls on Fridays for things like that, for good or bad. Positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement. I do phone calls on both of those. And number three, 3 strikes of homework detention, so a written detention, 0 strikes, end of term reward. So there's positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. So with the homework, I don't send too much of it home because not every child has support at home. But I send everybody just a tool. They have a choice on whether they can do it to help themselves, or they can do it for the knowledge, or they choose not to do it and they won't have an understanding of what's going on for that next week. So the homework is important. I understand for the kids that don't have support at home, we have a lot of that, especially with it being a Title I school. These kids are raising themselves. There's not always support at home, so I don't like bringing the homework home. But if they're not finishing the work during the lesson, that's when the homework comes into play. And this is the policy for that homework, if need be, if it needs to be done. Open communication. This is also extremely important. How am I supposed to know how you're doing in class or how you're feeling if you don't talk to me as your teacher? This is hard with middle school. Sometimes you really have to read them. I know most of my kids like an open book. So if they're coming in a different way someday, I know to wait at the end of class to pull them aside, not in front of everybody, pull them aside and ask them what's going on. Like, I saw you were a little slower today, or you just seemed uninterested or not there all the way today, and they're willing to talk to me. That's when that building relationships comes in, and figuring out what's really going on with that student in particular, because they're not normally like that. So when they are like that, they're comfortable enough to come to me and talk to me about it. Are you struggling with your homework? Are you unsure where to start on your assessment? Have you got questions about the work we did in class? Send me an email or chat to me after class. I can only help if I know there's an issue. I can't help if you're not talking to me and communicating with me. Because what middle school likes to do, they'll say, oh, well, she's not teaching me. They're not doing those extra things. This isn't even an extra thing. Open communication. Everyone has free will to ask me questions about an assignment. Questions. I'm always big on that. Everyone has free will to ask questions. If you don't take it upon yourself to do that, hold accountability, then you won't get the help that's needed. And you just sit there, that's ineffective. It's not effective because you don't learn that way. Every child learns differently, but communication goes for all types of learning. You have to communicate on what you understand and what you don't. I have to do that as a teacher with open communication. Asking the students, this seems to work really well. It's one of my top things. Just asking for that student communication. Do you understand this concept? 1 out of 10, how hard was this concept? Have you learned this before? Is this something we're recovering? Like, open communication. Seeing where they are and seeing what I need to do to make sure you get to that point that we need to be at for you to learn effectively and help that learning process. Starting strong. You're in charge of your engagement in the work, so let's stay strong. Be your own advocate. I say this to my middle schoolers every day. Be your own advocate. How can you challenge yourself to start on the right foot? I have them usually write a reflection, the inside and out of the classroom, what they'd like to see. That tends to work really well. Being a substitute teacher is hard starting off because they don't know you. You got to build those bonds and those relationships, and that's what will help you in the end. Create a consistent study program. I do offer tutoring. Revise your notes, note taking. This is a huge thing we do because I'm getting them set up for high school. Notes are extremely important when it comes to pre-algebra because it gets them started on showing their work. Another thing I have on starting strong, avoid sitting with peers that are distracting. This in middle school, all grades, as a matter of fact, those little friend groups, I could have the smartest kids, those kids that focus very well, but as soon as they sit where their friends are, they go off task. Be your own advocate. If you need to separate yourself until the end of class or wherever the case may be so you can learn the instruction and the curriculum like you need to, then so be it. Be your own advocate. If that's what you need to do, then do what you need to do in order to succeed. Don't let that interrupt your learning process. And that's the next lesson. Overall, with classroom management, it can make or break your classroom. I'm a strong advocate for this. You also have to be mindful that each child learns in a different way. So teaching those classroom management skills, sometimes you have to do it a little differently. Maybe a PowerPoint works better. Maybe them visually writing down the rules for the classroom, that'll work for them. Everything's differently. Each child learns differently. Some hands-on, some visual, some oral. They have to say them, repeat them to themselves so they remember those classroom management skills and what's expected of them. They need to hear it again. In elementary, you have to do a lot of reinforcement on them. Middle school, a lot of reinforcement because they just, and it'll take a while. It's not an easy task to get them on board with starting strong in classroom management. It's a hard task, but it can be done. Build those relationships, build those positive relationships. The kids will come to you. They will have that open communication that we were talking about. They will have that with you. And I've seen the things that I've put in this PowerPoint, they flourished since the beginning of the couple months that I've been with these middle schoolers. They absolutely amaze me every day. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. But this classroom management plan sealed the deal for me. Once I had this, initiated it, and they've got the right idea, everything went smoothly ever since. I have that open communication. I have those good relationships with my students. I get the work. Everything's done well. They've done well, they flourished, and now it's getting time for testing season. I'm confident that they'll do well based on this classroom management plan in that curriculum that they've gotten and understood to the core because they asked those questions, because they studied, and because they wrote their notes effectively, because they used their notes in those practice testing. They were confident in their answers, and that's what you look for. That's what you need. That's the whole goal for the whole entire school year. Thank you so much for tuning in.